such a fund, because in our community, we are highly, highly affected by this disease. I remember when I was a little girl, and my mother is a registered nurse. She's been a registered nurse for a very long time, and I'm not afraid to say my age. I'm 41 now. And when I was a little girl, she educated me about HIV and AIDS awareness. There are some people who are like, oh, don't sit next to that person because they have this. You know, my mother made sure that her child was not ignorant about that. So I said I want to give this session. And a sister friend of mine, Jacqueline Dole, she will be speaking today. And the person who will come before her is physician assistant Dean from the, I don't want to mess up, it is a Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center, but now it's part of Montefiore, correct? Oh, it's not? Okay. It's Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center, to be correct. So what I'm going to do initially is thank PAD for agreeing to come and speak to us, because I reached out to her and she did not hesitate at all. And I believe that has to do with her dedication to our community. Our community. She's right over here. So you can also speak to her. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read a little bit about my sister friend, Ms. Jones. Okay. I don't want to cry. Real deep. Jacqueline Jones was diagnosed with HIV back in 1992. We're in 2014 now, 1992. Back then, like many others, and still today, she lived in fear of people finding out that she was HIV positive. Because you're stigmatized if you let people know that about yourself. They become a part of your world. Become outcast to friends and family. And HIV and AIDS also labeled a monster. I know some of you have heard of that term. With no treatment from 1992 to 2002, she lived her life as if it did not exist with her, as if this disease did not exist with her. It was not until 2002, when she became pregnant, that she acknowledged this disease. Becoming pregnant is not only what probably saved her life, but she began getting treatment, and that gave her the ability to come out and speak, and she will come and speak before you. And it's 2014, 21 years later.
Amen.
If she can save one person from walking in her shoes, she'll do something. And that's why she has put her name and her face out. And every day, we have not known each other a very long time, but I feel as if I have known her a very long time. I think her every single day because she comes and she educates the community. So without further ado, I'll bring my next two speakers before you so that they can educate you. Thank you. Come on down.
Good morning. My name is Cecilia Dean, and I am physician assistant and HIV specialist at the Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center. For some of you who don't know what a physician assistant is, it is a professional, it's a mid-level professional who's trained in all areas of medicine. I do 90 to 95% of what physicians do, but we are trained to work in communities that are underserved. I've been at the Neighborhood Health Center for 13 years. Prior to that, I worked in homeless shelters in Manhattan and all over the communities in the Bronx and Brooklyn. I am a product of Mount Vernon Public Schools. I never went to private schools. I went to Longfellow. I went to Mount Vernon High, and they did a good job. I give all respect to my parents and to my God. And I'm relieved to know before I started to speak, I was going to have to say to you, if there are younger children in the audience, that I'm going to use a few words, but I'm not worried about it. Because we're getting paid when we open the door, because I think we need to keep it real. I don't want to lecture you today, so I prepared to talk. And the topic of my talk is, who is the face of HIV? We all are. I think we need to start at the beginning because there's a lot of myths about HIV. First of all, what is HIV? HIV is the name of a virus. A virus is a small infectious particle. It's smaller than a bacteria. Another thing that's known as a virus is the common cold is caused by a virus. HIV is such a big deal to everybody else because it's the stigma of how it's transmitted. But to me, HIV is just another disease that I want to kick in the backside. HIV is the virus that causes HIV infection and that can also cause AIDS. The difference between HIV and AIDS is that AIDS occurs when you've had HIV for a substantial amount of time, different time for others, and it causes your immune system to break down. What's unique about HIV and why we've had a lot of trouble with it is HIV has found a way, it gets into your body and then it attaches to your immune system, and that's when it makes little HIV babies. And when it finishes making the babies, it kills off something called your T cells. Maybe you guys have heard of T cells. T cells are like the soldiers that fight infection in our body. There is no reason that in 2014 we should be sticking our head in the sand. As a matter of fact, in 2010, 1 in every 4 people newly diagnosed with HIV were between the ages of 13 to 24. Our babies sitting out here are coming on the gate. They see everything on Facebook. They see everything out here in the world, so this is nothing new. I want to start in the beginning that the HIV/AIDS epidemic started in 1981, approximately. There were isolated cases. And it started out with 5 gay men who came up with this new kind of pneumonia that no one knew the name of. They just knew that they were deteriorating rapidly. In 1981, we didn't have a test. Also in 1981, there were 49 cases of a new type of cancer found only in previously healthy gay men. And because the epidemic seemed to start with gay men, we've closed our eyes to it. But that's not what's happening now. In the United States, 77% of infections are in men, where worldwide 55% are in women. In the Black community, we only make up 12% of the population, but 44% of Blacks are living with HIV. That is, we are disproportionately affected, and why is that? We're not stupid people. We come from queens and kings, but it's our attitude about HIV. We can talk about everything else, but we don't want to talk about HIV. How is HIV transmitted? This is the real problem why people are afraid to talk about HIV. One of the ways that HIV is transmitted is through sex. I said it, sex. There are different kinds of sex, and one of the most dangerous types of sexual behavior is receptive anal sex. I'm not calling people by labels because that's not what we do in the healthcare community. We talk about behaviors. And one of the greatest problems facing Black women and Latino women and women of color is that there is a disproportionate amount of men who have sex with men. I'm not calling them bisexual men. I'm not calling them gay men because that's a label. Because many of these men who are having sex with men, guess who else they're having sex with?
Women.
They're having sex with women. 84% of the new infections on women are by heterosexual contact. But when we look at new infections, 60% are in men. So how can that be? It can be that many of these men don't even disclose their sexual preferences to the women they're having sex with. Many of these men are someone's husbands. Many of these men are someone's boyfriends. I'm not here to put a negative label on someone. If you choose to do something, you have to protect yourself and protect the ones you love. But there are people out there who don't protect you. For years, people didn't want to deal with HIV because they said, oh, you can get it just by touching someone. Oh, you can get it just by kissing someone. If that were true, every person in this world would be infected. It's not true. It's not true. We worry about someone working in Dunkin' Donuts who may have HIV, but yet they'll go online and meet someone and have a date with them and you hardly know them. It's not true. HIV is found in anal fluids, do not have enough HIV that can infect you unless it's drenched in blood. And these are the things, because we as a people, we're a suspicious people, and we have a right to be. We are the same people who are part of the Tuskegee experiment. Does anybody know what that is? That happened during my lifetime, where black men, soldiers, were allowed to get syphilis and progress to tertiary syphilis, which is neurological syphilis. That happened in the 60s. I was a little girl in the 60s. So we are suspicious. But that's why we're here in this community trying to teach people and treat them. So it has been my joy and my pleasure to take care of patients with HIV and AIDS. Back in the day, people didn't know what all the symptoms were. So when people came into care, they came in with AIDS. And when you come in with AIDS, it's a little more difficult. It is more difficult to treat because your immune system is already compromised. You don't die from AIDS, you die from an infection that you get because your immune system is low. But now, since 1985, we have a test. And since then, there are home tests. We have rapid tests that you can come in, be swabbed, you can do a finger stick. You can know, but people are still afraid because they're afraid of the way other people are going to treat them. But I'm here to tell you, I know people with HIV who have been married. Married people who don't have the virus. In the last 3 or 4 years, I have had 10 babies born to my patients. None are infected. In the beginning of the epidemic, 975 babies a year were born infected. Today, less than 2% of babies are born with HIV if their mothers take the medicine. And you say, my God, it's so simple. But yet, we have this block. First of all, we don't want to know. If I don't know it, it won't get me. It's not true. You wouldn't treat your child like that. You wouldn't ignore your child's symptoms. If they had asthma, say, well, if I don't take it to the doctor, they won't die from asthma. It's not true. And because it's affecting our communities disproportionately, people would say, well, what's wrong? Why is it in the Black and Latino community so much? It's not. We're not stupid people. See, we come from sojourner troops. We come from Martin Luther King. We come from great, great people. But we are too afraid, and we're afraid of the stigma. So I encourage people, you need to get tested. The most important message I'll ever say to you today is HIV is not a death sentence. HIV is not a death sentence. If you take your medications, if you come for visits, if you do what you need to do, you only have to come see me 3 times a year, at most. Take your medications. These medications run in the gamut of $2,000 a month. Anyone who is HIV infected or has AIDS, there is insurance even if you are not documented, even if you do not have papers. There is insurance called ADAP that will take care of you. Many people don't know that, so they don't come into care. Since the epidemic started, 33.4 million people have died across the world. In the United States right now, there are about 1.3 million people living with HIV. 20% of them don't even know they are infected. Some people don't have symptoms right away. HIV doesn't affect people the same way. If you have a relationship with a person who was taking medication and stopped, and they infect you, it's a very good possibility that that medication won't work on you, and you've never even taken a pill. That's why you have to come into treatment early. There's some other things I want to tell you that women, and we have to bear the brunt of many things. Women can become infected by a man much more easily than a man can become infected by a woman. And it may have to do with our anatomy. They're not quite sure why. Of course, the riskiest form of sex is anal sex. But there are some women who get involved in anal receptive sex because the tissues in the anus